chosen one before anything else. You need to understand this clearly and without doubt. You are not moving through life unguarded, even when it felt like everything was falling apart, even when doors slammed shut without explanation, even when people walked away and opportunities dissolved overnight. Something unseen was standing between you and destruction. What you thought were delays were actually interceptions. What felt like rejection was often redirection. There is a force you cannot see, but you have felt it. In moments when disaster almost happened but didn't. In times when you narrowly missed something that later revealed itself to be dangerous. In decisions you didn't understand at the time but later realized saved you. This is not coincidence. This is protection. You were never meant to walk this path alone. Long before you recognized your calling, long before you became aware that you were different, something was assigned to you. A watcher, a guardian, a presence that does not sleep, does not grow tired, and does not abandon its post. While others move through life exposed, you move covered. While others fall into traps without warning, your path keeps mysteriously clearing just in time. You may have questioned why certain things didn't work out, why plans collapsed at the last moment, why people suddenly revealed their true nature, but those were not losses. Those were obstacles removed before they could become wounds. There were moments when you should have been harmed, emotionally, spiritually, even physically, but something intervened. A delay, a change of plans, a sudden feeling in your chest telling you not to go, not to speak, not to trust. That feeling was not fear, it was guidance. That pause was not weakness, it was wisdom placed inside you by an unseen protector who understands the terrain ahead better than you ever could. You were being guided around dangers you never saw coming. And the reason is simple. Your path matters too much to be left unprotected. Pay attention to this pattern in your life. Every time you were about to settle for less, something disrupted it. Every time you were about to attach yourself to someone who would drain you, circumstances shifted. Every time you were close to making a decision that would delay your destiny, confusion entered, not to stop you forever, but to slow you down until clarity arrived. That is not chaos. That is precision. This unseen force does not push you forward recklessly. It positions you carefully. It clears obstacles not only in front of you, but within you. This protection is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It works quietly, constantly, adjusting angles, rerouting outcomes, softening impacts. While you sleep, it watches. While you doubt, it stands firm. While you question your worth, it already knows your value. There are conversations that never reached you because they were blocked. There are plans made against you that never succeeded because they were intercepted before forming fully. There are energies that tried to attach themselves to you and failed because your field is guarded. And here is something crucial you must understand. This protection increases as you move closer to alignment. The more you step into who you truly are, the more vigilant this unseen force becomes. That is why resistance intensified before breakthroughs. That is why confusion spiked right before clarity. That is why certain people reacted strangely to your growth. They felt the shift before you consciously acknowledged it. Protection is always strongest when purpose is near. You may not see the guardian, but you see its work. You see it in the way things fall apart cleanly instead of catastrophically. You see it in the way harm stops, just short of reaching you. You see it in the inner knowing that whispers, "You're safe, keep going." This force does not remove all challenges, because challenges refine you, but it removes what would destroy you. It filters what reaches you. It allows lessons, not devastation, growth, not ruin. Right now, as you are hearing this, that same unseen protection is active. It is not watching passively. It is adjusting, clearing, preparing. And this message itself is part of that protection, because awareness strengthens alignment. Once you recognize that you are guarded, you stop panicking when things shift unexpectedly. You stop forcing doors that were never meant to open. You begin to trust the pauses, the detours, the sudden endings. You move with less fear and more discernment. This is only the beginning of what you need to understand about the force protecting your path. What it has already prevented would shock you if you could see it clearly, and what it is preparing to guide you into will require you to stay alert, grounded, and receptive. Do not rush. Do not scroll away. Chosen one, now that you know something unseen is protecting your path, it is time to recognize how this protection actually moves in your daily life, because it does not operate in fantasy. It operates in patterns. And once you see those patterns, you will never misunderstand your journey again. One of the clearest signs of this unseen force is interruption. Things do not always collapse violently in your life. They interrupt. A meeting gets cancelled at the last second. A plan suddenly feels wrong, even though it looked perfect on paper. A person you were sure about reveals something small but unsettling. These interruptions are not inconveniences. They are preemptive strikes against future harm. While others walk straight into consequences, you are redirected before damage occurs. That is protection. Another sign is unexplainable timing. You arrive late and avoid something. You hesitate and miss a trap. You feel off and later discover why. This is not anxiety. This is calibration. Your internal system is tuned to something beyond logic. The unseen force does not shout. It nudges. It creates just enough friction to slow you down when speed would cost you everything. And notice this. When you ignore those nudges, life feels heavier. When you honor them, things align faster. That is not coincidence. That is feedback. You may have noticed that people who intend harm rarely get close enough to fully execute it. They expose themselves early. They contradict themselves. They lose interest suddenly, or circumstances remove them from your life altogether. This is not luck. This is filtration. Not everyone is allowed access to you, emotionally, spiritually, or energetically. The unseen force acts as a gatekeeper, deciding who stays long enough to matter and who exits before damage is done. This protection also shows up as resilience beyond explanation. You have endured things that should have broken you, yet here you are, still moving, still searching, still evolving. Others faced less and collapsed. You faced more and transformed. That strength did not come from willpower alone. Something kept stabilizing you when your own strength ran low. Something refused to let you disintegrate under pressure. That is not personality. That is intervention. Pay close attention to how often outcomes rearrange themselves after disappointment. What looked like loss later revealed itself as escape. What felt like rejection later proved to be preservation. You were spared timelines that would have drained you, delayed you, or destroyed parts of you that are essential for what comes next. The unseen force is not interested in your comfort. It is committed to your continuation. There is also a reason you sense danger before it speaks. You feel energy shifts before words are exchanged. You notice tension where others feel nothing. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is a detection system. You are alerted early because your path carries weight. Heavy callings require early warnings, and this unseen force amplifies your awareness so you do not learn everything the hard way. Here is something most people never realize. Protection often feels like confusion before it feels like clarity. When the unseen force is actively rerouting you, your mind may resist, your emotions may protest, your ego may question, but your spirit stays strangely calm underneath it all. That calm is your anchor. It is the signal that even though things look unstable, you are still being held. And right now, at this very moment, this force is more active than usual. That is why this message reached you. That is why certain thoughts resurfaced while listening. That is why memories, sensations, or realizations are emerging without effort. Protection increases when transition is near. Something ahead requires you to arrive intact, aware, and aligned. So the guardians tighten their watch. But there is a responsibility that comes with this protection. You are not meant to fight blindly anymore. You are meant to cooperate. When you override your intuition, protection has to work harder. When you rush decisions, it has to intervene more aggressively. But when you slow down, listen, and trust what feels steady rather than what feels urgent, everything flows with less resistance. Protection becomes guidance instead of correction. In the next part, you will understand why obstacles are being removed now, not later, and what this unseen force is preparing you to step into once the path is fully cleared. Chosen one, now we arrive at the part most people never reach. The reason this unseen force is clearing obstacles now, not later. Protection is never random, and timing is never accidental. When barriers begin dissolving before you even touch them, it means something ahead cannot afford delay, distortion, or damage. You are being preserved for alignment, not survival. Here is the truth that changes everything. Your path carries consequence, not just for you, but for others connected to your future. That is why interference has been aggressive lately. That is why obstacles collapse unexpectedly. That is why what once felt heavy now feels strangely lighter. The unseen force is not reacting to danger. It is anticipating arrival. There are seasons where protection is passive, quiet, almost invisible. And then there are seasons like this one, where protection becomes active, strategic, and immediate. You are in the second season. This is not about keeping you safe from small harm. This is about ensuring you reach a threshold intact. Certain opportunities cannot open if you arrive fragmented. Certain assignments cannot activate if your energy is scattered. So the unseen force removes distractions, drains, delays, and detours before they can attach to you. You may have felt a strange urgency paired with calm, a sense that something is about to happen without panic. That is not anxiety. That is anticipation without fear. A rare spiritual state that only appears when protection and purpose are synchronized. You are not being rushed, you are being positioned. This is why relationships have shifted abruptly. Some people exited without explanation, others became distant without conflict. This was not rejection, it was clearance. Not everyone is meant to witness your next phase. Some presences distort momentum simply by proximity. The unseen force removes what would slow you down without asking your permission, because your emotions would hesitate where destiny will not. And here is something critical. The obstacles being removed were never meant to teach you lessons. They were meant to test access. You passed those tests earlier than you realize. That is why resistance has turned into redirection. When you prove you can carry weight without breaking, heaven stops testing and starts transporting. Notice how your reactions have changed. Things that once triggered you now barely register. Chaos that once consumed you now feels distant. This is not numbness. This is stability. Stability is the final requirement before elevation. The unseen force has been strengthening your internal foundation so that external expansion does not collapse you. You are also being protected from premature exposure. Some paths fail not because they are wrong, but because they are revealed too early. That is why certain plans stall just before completion. That is why some doors pause mid-opening. The unseen force delays revelation until alignment catches up. It is better to wait than to step into something powerful without the structure to sustain it. And now, the most important truth of this part, protection intensifies right before transition, always. When the next chapter is close enough to touch, interference increases. That is not coincidence. It is confirmation. The unseen force does not guard stagnant paths. It guards active thresholds. You are standing at one now. This is why you must be careful with your words in this season. Speak less. Observe more. Not everything needs to be shared. Some things must incubate in silence until they are strong enough to stand. The unseen force works best when you do not expose what it is shielding. You may feel moments of isolation, not loneliness, but separation. That separation is not punishment. It is protection from noise, from influence, from opinions that would dilute your clarity. When the path narrows, it is because precision is required. Here is the reassurance you need to hear clearly. Nothing meant for you will miss you. The unseen force does not remove obstacles to test your patience. It removes them to protect your arrival. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where timing and guardianship intersect. And now the path ahead is becoming visible, not fully, but enough to move forward without fear. In the next message, we will begin half 2, part 1, where you will understand who this unseen force answers to, how it knows when to intervene, and what changes when protection turns into guidance. Chosen one, now we go deeper, because protection alone is not the end of this revelation. What surrounds you is not merely shielding you from harm, it is responding to authority. And that authority is not external. It originates from alignment between your inner state and the assignment ahead. The unseen force does not move randomly. It moves when permission is granted. Here is what few understand. Protection activates fully only after consent, and consent is not spoken. It is lived. The moment you stopped begging for clarity and started walking with quiet resolve, something shifted. The moment you chose integrity over convenience, patience over impulse, restraint over reaction, the signal was sent. And when that signal reached the unseen realm, the response was immediate. This force answers to timing, not emotion. It is unmoved by panic, but deeply responsive to readiness. That is why earlier prayers felt unanswered. You were asking for outcomes while still carrying attachments that would have compromised them. Now, those attachments are dissolving. And because they are dissolving, guidance replaces defense. Protection keeps danger away. Guidance pulls you forward. You may have noticed this change subtly. Instead of obstacles blocking your way, you now encounter gentle nudges. Instead of sharp resistance, there are quiet redirections. A missed call that later proves fortunate. A delay that prevents exposure. A sudden thought that tells you to pause, and later you understand why. This is no longer reactive shielding. This is precision navigation. The unseen force is not just guarding your steps, it is correcting your trajectory in real time. And here is the crucial distinction. Guidance feels lighter than protection. Protection feels urgent. Guidance feels calm. If you feel calm despite uncertainty, that is not complacency. That is confirmation that you are being led rather than defended. This is why your intuition has sharpened recently, not louder, sharper. You don't second guess as much. You don't over-explain. You sense when to speak and when silence carries more power. That clarity is not self-generated. It is the result of alignment with the force that now walks ahead of you, not just around you. Another sign of this transition is selective energy. You no longer have access to everything you once did, and everything no longer has access to you. This narrowing is intentional. When guidance begins, options reduce so direction can sharpen. Too many choices dilute momentum. The unseen force simplifies your field so your focus can intensify. Do not confuse fewer options with limitation. It is refinement. There is also something happening internally that you may not have named yet, a quiet confidence without explanation. You are not trying to prove yourself. You are not announcing your readiness. You simply are. That is the state guidance requires. Protection responds to vulnerability. Guidance responds to authority. And authority does not mean dominance. It means stewardship. You are being trusted with movement. Now hear this carefully because it matters more than anything so far. Once guidance begins, hesitation becomes the only real obstacle. The unseen force will not drag you. It will open paths, illuminate turns, and close wrong doors. But you must step forward when clarity appears. This is where many people stall. They mistake protection for permission to wait. But guidance is permission to act. You may feel moments where something inside you says, now. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a knowing. Those moments will not repeat endlessly. They arrive, they pass, and they shape outcomes. When you act in those moments, alignment deepens. When you delay out of fear, the path does not punish you. It simply pauses until courage catches up. This is not pressure, it is partnership. The unseen force is not testing you now, it is collaborating with you. That is why your dreams may have intensified or become more symbolic. That is why certain memories resurface unexpectedly. That is why you feel drawn toward things you once ignored. Guidance works by reactivating what was dormant and deactivating what no longer fits. And one more thing you must understand before we continue. Guidance protects differently than defense. Defense blocks attacks. Guidance avoids them entirely. You may never see the danger that was redirected away from you. You may never know how close certain outcomes were, and that is intentional. The safest paths are the ones where threats never appear. So if you have felt unusually unbothered lately, unusually steady, unusually detached from chaos, that is not loss of emotion. That is elevation of awareness. Chosen one, the reason this unseen force has intensified its guidance now is not random, and it is not simply because you have endured hardship. It is because you are approaching a threshold moment, a point where continuation without alignment would fracture the path ahead. The unseen does not intervene more when danger increases. It intervenes more when impact increases. You are not being protected because you are weak. You are being guided because what you are about to step into carries weight. There is a convergence happening between who you have become, what you have survived, and what is being entrusted to you next. When these three align, the margin for error narrows, and that is when guidance replaces trial and error living. This is why distractions have been falling away, not dramatically, but decisively. Certain conversations no longer hold your attention. Certain ambitions feel hollow. Certain relationships feel misaligned, even if they are not toxic. This is not loss. This is prioritization enforced by destiny. The unseen force does not remove things arbitrarily. It removes them at the exact moment they would begin to interfere. You may have noticed that your tolerance for noise has dropped. You cannot stay in confusion long anymore. You cannot pretend not to see what you see. You cannot lie to yourself without feeling immediate internal resistance. That resistance is not anxiety, it is course correction. Here is the truth few are told. When guidance begins, comfort becomes irrelevant. Clarity becomes everything. This is why some of your old coping mechanisms no longer work. Escapism feels empty. Overthinking feels exhausting. Even validation feels insufficient. The unseen force is not punishing you. It is training you to move without crutches. Because where you are going, hesitation will cost more than mistakes ever did. Another sign of this phase is timing compression. Things that once took months to resolve now resolve in days. Decisions have faster consequences. Alignments form quickly. Misalignments dissolve even faster. This acceleration is intentional. It is designed to teach responsiveness. You are being taught to recognize alignment immediately, not after suffering. And here is where release becomes essential. There are three things that must loosen their grip if guidance is to remain clear. First, the need to explain yourself. Not everyone is meant to understand your direction. Explanation invites interference. Silence preserves momentum. The unseen force cannot shield what is constantly exposed. Second, attachment to outcomes. Guidance operates in steps, not guarantees. When you cling to a specific ending, you stop seeing the better opening forming beside it. Trust does not mean passivity. It means flexibility. Third, fear of being misunderstood. Misunderstanding is not rejection. It is often a sign that you are moving beyond shared frameworks. The unseen force will not correct others' perceptions. It will strengthen your discernment. If you feel a subtle grief around letting these go, that is normal. Growth always carries a cost, even when it is right. But understand this, nothing you are releasing is meant to accompany you further. Now listen closely to this next part, because it is critical. The unseen force guiding you is not external alone. It is synchronized with something internal that has finally come online. Self-trust. Not ego, not confidence. Self-trust, the quiet knowing that you can move without constant reassurance. That is why signs are becoming subtler. Early protection uses loud warnings. Advanced guidance uses gentle confirmations. If you miss them, it will not shout. It will wait. This is respect, not abandonment. You are no longer being treated as fragile. You are being treated as capable, and capability changes everything. This is also why you may feel moments of solitude that are not loneliness. Solitude is where guidance speaks clearly. Crowds dilute signal. The unseen force creates space, so communication remains clean. Do not rush to fill that space. Chosen one, what you are stepping into next is not a reward, it is a responsibility. This is the part many messages avoid, but the unseen force protecting you does not hide truth. It prepares you for it. The path ahead is not free of obstacles, it is free of unnecessary obstacles. There is a difference. What is being removed from your path right now are not challenges meant to grow you, but interferences meant to delay you, confusion that would drain your energy, attachments that would dilute your focus, people and patterns that would keep you circling instead of ascending. The unseen force does not promise ease, it ensures precision. This is why the guidance feels surgical, why things end cleanly instead of explosively, why doors close quietly instead of slamming. Silence is not emptiness here, it is coordination. You are entering a phase where alignment matters more than effort. In the past, effort carried you through misalignment. You pushed, you endured, you survived through willpower. That phase taught resilience, but resilience alone cannot sustain what is coming next. What is coming requires clarity. The unseen force is preparing you to operate with fewer moves and greater impact, less reaction, more intention, fewer words, clearer decisions. This is the economy of destiny, nothing wasted. You may notice something else as well. Your intuition is no longer hypothetical, it is actionable. When something feels off, you no longer debate it endlessly. You pause, you step back, you wait. That pause is not hesitation, it is intelligence. It is the unseen force saying, hold, timing is adjusting. And timing is everything now. The next season of your life will unfold faster than the previous one, but only if you do not rush it. This sounds paradoxical, but it is how guided paths work. Speed comes from accuracy, not urgency. Here is the warning, and it is given with care. Do not confuse protection with permission to abandon discernment. The unseen force will not override your choices. It will support aligned ones. If you force doors, you step outside the shielding. If you ignore inner resistance, you walk ahead without escort. Protection follows alignment, not desire. That is why your inner world is being refined, why emotional reactions are being softened, why triggers that once controlled you now feel distant. The unseen force is not hardening you, it is stabilizing you. Because instability attracts disruption. You are being trained to move calmly even when outcomes matter, to listen even when pressure rises, to choose wisely when visibility increases. Yes, visibility. This is another truth you must be ready to receive. Your path is becoming more visible, not less. Protection intensifies when attention increases, when your movement begins to influence others, when your presence shifts rooms without effort, when your decisions ripple outward. The unseen force is not guarding you from failure. It is guarding you from misalignment under observation. This is why humility is essential now. Not self-diminishment but groundedness, the kind that keeps you listening when others start watching. If you ever feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. That urge is not coming from alignment. The unseen force does not require performance, only obedience to inner truth. And here is the final reassurance, because fear does not belong in this moment. You are not walking alone, and you will not suddenly be abandoned once things improve. Guidance does not withdraw when success arrives, it evolves. What once protected you from collapse will soon protect you from complacency. What once blocked harm will soon refine opportunity. The unseen force does not disappear, it adapts to your capacity. This is why gratitude matters now, not as ritual, but as awareness. When you acknowledge protection, you remain receptive to it. So move forward slowly, speak less, listen more. Trust what feels calm, not what feels loud. Let clarity outrun urgency. The path is clear not because it is empty, but because it has been prepared. You are protected, you are guided, and you are exactly where you are meant to be.